Turkey's lira fell over 12% and touched a new all-time low of 42 to the dollar on Wednesday. Bonds and stocks also tumbled after authorities detained President Tayyip Erdogan's main political rival. The mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, was expected to be named as the main opposition's presidential candidate within days. He now faces charges including corruption and aiding a terrorist group. The currency fall looked set to be its largest absolute daily move on record. Turkey's international government bonds also came under pressure, with longer-dated maturities seeing the sharpest falls. Stocks also crashed, reflecting investor worries over the rule of law. Bursa Istanbul said trading was halted temporarily after the main BIS T100 index fell 6.87% in early trading, and the market-wide circuit breaker was triggered. Some analysts expect the decline on the stock exchange to continue over the coming days. The move against İmamoğlu, the popular mayor of Istanbul, caps a months-long legal crackdown on opposition figures across the country, which has been criticised as a politicised attempt to hurt their electoral prospects.
This is the moment thieves steal an 18-carat golden toilet from Winston Churchill's birthplace. The fully functioning toilet weighed more than 215 pounds and was insured for $6 million. It was on display in 2019 as a piece of artwork titled America by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan, before being stolen from Blenheim Palace in southern England. On Tuesday, 39-year-old Brit Michael Jones was found guilty of burglary at Oxford Crown Court. Fred Doe, 36, was found guilty of one count of conspiracy to convert or transfer criminal property, namely the gold, while 41-year-old Bora Kuchuk was acquitted of that charge. James Sheen, also 39, had pleaded guilty before the trial. Prosecutors said that a group of 5 men drove 2 stolen vehicles through locked gates into the palace grounds. They broke in through a window, smashed down a door, and ripped the toilet from the wall within 5 minutes. None of the gold was recovered. Prosecutors say the toilet was probably divided up and sold off.
Naila Chirino-Pada believes a small needle can make a big difference to a cow's health.
So right now, I'm standing to the right of the cow. I mark the point with my left index finger. I hold my right hand steady over the head of the cow. I put the needle underneath my finger, and I stick the needle into the cow. If it gets tense, I wait. I adapt to the rhythm of the cow.
The bovine acupuncturist is teaching a training session on the use of the traditional Chinese medicine, attended by a dozen dairy farmers in the French region of Brittany. She's showing several points where needles can be administered to, she says, boost immunity, improve milk production, and help with pain and other health issues.
Be it for cows that have mastitis or a calf that is coughing, we have specific acupuncture points that accompany the animal in order to allow it to regain its state of balance.
Though not many French scientific studies have been conducted to prove its efficiency, several farmers who practice acupuncture on their cows say they have observed positive results. A 1997 study by the US National Institutes of Health found acupuncture could be helpful in alleviating muscular and skeletal pain, as well as gastrointestinal problems. However, more recent research has shown minimal to no evidence of its benefits for animals. The method's rise in popularity in France in recent years has led agricultural organisations to encourage its use, as both a preventative measure and a way to reduce dependence on chemical medicines. Chirino-Pada advocates for a balanced medical approach, but the practice has drawn a younger generation of farmers who prefer to avoid using antibiotics. Dairy farmer Marion Legal was a veterinarian assistant for 10 years and is learning the treatment as she prefers a softer approach to treating cows.
Great. I thought it would be more complicated than this, but no.
Chirino Pada also believes acupuncture can have environmental benefits, ensuring medical residues do not end up in the soil.
Freed Ukrainian prisoners of war celebrated on Wednesday after Russia and Ukraine each agreed to release 175 captured troops. Moscow said it freed an additional 22 wounded Ukrainians as a goodwill gesture, following a phone call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. But just hours after that call, in which a deal was reached to pause attacks on energy infrastructure, both Russia and Ukraine accused each other of violating the new agreement. Moscow said Ukraine hit an oil depot in southern Russia, while Kyiv said Russia had struck hospitals and homes and knocked out power to some of its railways. This all came on the same day that Trump had a phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that Trump described as very good. Before their conversation, Zelensky said Moscow's continued attacks showed its words did not match its actions, and that Russia was not ready for peace. He also said that the United States should be in charge of monitoring any ceasefire.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
The hour-long call on Wednesday between Trump and Zelensky was their first conversation since an Oval Office meeting descended into a shouting match in late February.
Intelligence sharing in terms of defense for Ukraine will continue to be shared.
Later, White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said Zelensky asked Trump for additional air defense support, and that Trump said he would help locate the equipment in Europe. She also said Trump has moved beyond a previously negotiated U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal.
We've moved beyond just the economic minerals deal framework, and we're looking at a lasting ceasefire. Right now we're at a partial ceasefire, but again, the president is sending his highly skilled, intelligent, and experienced team to Saudi Arabia later this week to continue fighting for peace in this conflict.
Trump has long promised to end Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II, but his outreach to Putin has unnerved European allies, who fear it heralds a fundamental shift after 80 years in which defending Europe from Russian expansionism was the core mission of U.S. foreign policy.
Record greenhouse gas levels helped bring temperatures to an all-time high in 2024, the UN weather body said on Wednesday, accelerating glacier and sea ice loss, raising sea levels and edging the world closer to a key warming threshold. Annual average mean temperatures stood at 1.55 degrees Celsius or 2.79 degrees Fahrenheit above pre-industrial levels last year. Countries agreed in the 2015 Paris Agreement to strive to limit temperature increases to within 1.5 degrees Celsius above the 1850 to 1900 average. The number surpasses the previous 2023 record by 0.1 degrees Celsius, the World Meteorological Organization said in its annual climate report. John Kennedy, the lead author of the WMO report, explains its significance.
One thing to kind of point out very clearly is that one single year above 1.5 degrees wouldn't mean that the level mentioned in the Paris Agreement had been formally exceeded. The Paris Agreement is usually taken to refer to long-term averages, some kind of multi-year or even multi-decadal average of temperature. So 1 year doesn't exceed that.
But he says uncertainty ranges in the data means it cannot be ruled out. The report said other factors could also have driven global temperature rises last year, including changes in the solar cycle, a massive volcanic eruption, and a decrease in cooling aerosols. Extreme weather wreaked havoc across the globe, with droughts causing food shortages and floods and wildfires displacing 800,000 people, the highest since records began in 2008. Ocean heat also reached its highest on record, and the rate of warming is accelerating, with rising ocean CO2 concentrations also driving up acidification levels. Glaciers and sea ice continued to melt at a rapid rate. Here's oceanographer Karina von Schuckmann.
As a consequence of a warming ocean and also as a consequence of melt from land ice, the ocean sea level is rising. As you can see here an estimate from satellite altimetry starting in 1993 up to 24, there is a continued increase in sea level. And in 24, the global mean sea level reached a record high in the satellite record. So from 2015 to 2024, the sea level rose at an annual rate of 4.7 millimeters, and is compared to a value of 2.1 millimeters from 1993 to 2002.
The report authors state the long-term implications of the melting ice can affect the overall circulation of the oceans, which affects the climate around the world.